Welcome to the Fashion Translator. I'm Claire, your host. Together we explore how AI and innovation are reshaping the fashion industry through creativity, technology, and global partnership. For today's episode, I'm thrilled to welcome Nasreen Hussain, founder and creative director of Women of High Fashion. Nasreen, thank you for joining me. Could you please introduce yourself and the company for our listener?
Sure. Thanks, Claire, for having me. My name is Nasreen Hussain, and I am a stylist turned creative designer of my brand, Humans of High Fashion, which is a streetwear meets luxury, ready-to-wear apparel brand that I launched about a year ago with my inaugural collection containing a line of caps. Recently, we just launched our ready-to-wear women's apparel back in May of 2025.
Tell us a bit more about what inspired you to start.
Yeah, definitely. So I started Humans of High Fashion under the styling umbrella and art direction about 7 years ago. So I was very inspired to, around the fashion and, styling, the behind the scenes. So I learned a lot behind the scenes as, different fashion avenues. So I always knew that was the plan to start my own line. However, I wanted to kind of get my feet wet and just explore the different avenues of fashion. So I started with styling. I was very inspired, and from a very young age, I worked different retail positions. I was a stylist, even during high school and college, I worked different jobs in the fashion industries, especially within retail. However, after college, I took a complete turn and I went into the corporate retail banking world, and I was an operations manager for Bank of America. I did that for about 6 years. And I just wasn't passionate about it. I learned a lot. I don't regret any of it because it was just such a good experience, especially as being on the operations and leadership side. So, I learned a lot and it just wasn't fulfilling. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to quit and I'm going to go back. I'm going to finish my master's. So I finished my master's in organizational behavior and business. And within that time frame, I took a styling course as well. Then shortly after that, after I had my son, I started my business in Humans of High Fashion. So it was definitely a long journey, but very fulfilling. And I still have a long way to go because there's just so much to be done with the brand. But in terms of the experiences, it was very fulfilling and inspiring, which led me to where I am today.
You mentioned operation and leadership. Would you say that certain skills that you've learned through the years were transferable or are asset for you today to run your brand?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because I really got to see the business side of retail banking. I just kind of managing different people with different personalities and just seeing how operationally how the business works. Although it's two different fields, it really gave me the skill set to do what I'm doing right now. Even business and fashion, I took a course as well in that, but there's nothing like real life experience.
Correct. I feel very often when we think about brand owners, on the outside, people will think about the creative side and will think about, execution, like sewing and then selling. But there's so much more that goes on behind. And very often as business owner, you have to wear so many hats that all of these skills that comes together, they might not be from design experience, but they still are a part of what makes the success of a brand at the end of the day.
Definitely. Anytime I'm talking to any interns that work for me, or if I'm at a school talking to different students, I always say the creative part is probably maybe 40%, and the rest of it is just business and marketing and the storytelling of your brand.
Tell us a bit more about the storytelling. What defines the soul of your brand?
So I think for me, if you go onto my Instagram page, the storytelling is a strong suit because every collection and every piece has a meaning. and inspiration behind it. So for instance, my first drop for the women's ready to wear apparel, we did a date night drop. So we launched a denim shirt, a denim skirt, and a sweatshirt that can be worn a little bit more dressed up. And it's called the date night drop. It was inspired by European nights and also personal to my style and my husband's style, because he's always wearing a sweatshirt and I'm just a little bit more dressed up. So I named it the date night drop. The storytelling behind that was nights in Europe, and also Chicago was a huge part of it too, because, we live in Chicago and I was born and raised here. That was a very strong part of the collection. And then recently we launched the Satin Summer collection, and that was based on Italy and the French Riviera and our different travels. The colors were butter yellow and a slate gray. So the storytelling behind that, it was very pastel summer colors. Each collection had a story to be told, and the campaigns too. That's kind of how I arrange the campaigns as well, to tailor the story and inspiration behind them.
When there is such a strong storytelling, you can follow along. It's not only about the garment, it's about the journey that just visually it takes you through. When it comes to trend and inspiration, what are some platform or some avenues where your inspiration usually comes from?
So honestly, for the last 2 drops, my inspiration have literally come from my own camera roll. So just kind of going through my own pictures, because I love to travel. I've been to quite a few places, and in the last 10 years, we visited some of the most beautiful places. A lot of my pictures like that you'll see on Instagram are pictures that I've taken and pictures that I've had in my camera roll. So that's kind of mainly where the inspiration comes from. Another avenue would be obviously Instagram and different people and places that I am very inspired by. I think inspiration can kind of come from anywhere. I'll be taking a walk and I'll be inspired by the color of a tree, and I'll be like, oh, okay. So I'm constantly thinking, how can I put this into my next collection or my next piece? Wherever I am, I feel like there is always some sort of inspiration.
How do you balance this inspiration, this artistic vision with the business strategy?
I think it's kind of also just prioritizing your time. Like every day, I have specific tasks on the calendar that need to be done. For instance, like the business side, I'll slot some time in for the business development side, and then I'll slot some in for creative. And then it's also very important to like kind of clear my head. And I have a son, I have a 6-year-old. So usually after I pick him up from school, I'll like just try to shut my brain off and just kind of be in the moment with him. And that will happen for a few hours. So that kind of gives me my like, okay, time to shut the brain off and, focus on other things, because I feel like if you're just go, it can just kind of create like a burnout. And personally, I need to have like a moment where like I'll go on a walk. And that's another way that I'll clear my head, because it's just a lot, especially when you're the founder, you're just juggling like a lot of different pieces.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to do that is to really like organize your calendar, like implement priorities and just time block like your non-negotiables. Like, okay, today I'm going to just strictly do like design and I'm not going to do anything else. There's a lot of resources out there too that can help you with that as well. There is this podcast that I listened to by Grace Beverly. It's called Working Hard or Hardly Working. And she provides so many different tools on how to do that as well. So that also helps me too.
That is so true. On a society level, we're really starting to understand the impact that it has. If you go back a few years ago, 10 years ago, this mentality of workaholic and this concept that if you work really hard, you'll get your dream. This was really embedded in our brain, but we've been realizing, and there's been so many studies that actually, if you're just pushing and going 200 miles an hour, your brain will get numb and there's going to be a mental fatigue. And ultimately, if you're thinking about productivity and result and efficiency, to take a step back, to breathe, like a walk, meditation, whatever it is, that it's a fact that actually when you take a step back and you go back in, there's an impact in terms of your idea will be clearer, you'll be more efficient, you'll be more driven and more focused. And this makes a difference at the end of the day.
100%. Give yourself some like me time and just let your brain rest for a little bit, especially in the creative industry where you really have to create. In order to create, you need to have like some room in your brain in order to do that. If your brain is just filled with a million different things and you're not taking time out for yourself, it's going to be hard to create as a creator.
And there is one part of the business that you could automate. Which one will it be?
Probably social media. Social media is like just another class on its own. I think there's just so many pieces to the puzzle. And I think that if I could just have that on cruise control, that would be ideal.
Which platform has the most traction for you?
I would say Instagram.
So
LinkedIn too is like another good platform for me. TikTok, I haven't fully grasped TikTok yet, but I am working on it. We recently got on TikTok, so we're still trying to figure out. I have one person on my team that's pretty good with that, so we're trying to figure that platform out as well.
I think these platforms are really the gateway to connect with the community and the consumers.
Yes, 100%.
The buyers and the clients, they want to know, not just buying, they want to connect beyond than just the garment themselves. Of course, quality is important, but more and more who the brand is, who the owners, and what the brand stands for. This really creates a longevity in terms of a connection with the clients.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it's very important to network and to just have a relationship, get to know different people in the industry to kind of get their perspective. That really helps me navigate, something that I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. So it'd be helpful to talk to somebody in that industry.
Yeah, that's very true. Also to get feedback once the collection is out there, once there's visibility, like this is really like the pulse. We can really get the pulse in real time of what's going on.
Right, exactly.
If you think about your company and the next 5 years, what's your long-term vision for the brand?
I think my long-term vision is just global recognition and to have it in as many retail boutiques globally as possible. And just to kind of get the brand out there so everyone can, experience it and know the story and the journey and be inspired themselves.
That's definitely a great vision. In terms of e-commerce, are you also looking to expand it there as well?
Yes, that's definitely the goal. We do have the line in LA right now at a boutique called Atlas in California. The partnership has been really great and it really gives you a different perspective, like different clients. Rather than right now, I'm in Chicago and I'm used to kind of seeing it through the Chicago lens. And it's kind of different to see it through different perspectives and a different customer base.
Yeah, I can really see that. So Nasreen, we'll make sure to keep an eye on both on you and on the expansion of your brand. I'm sure there's great things coming ahead. For the listeners who would like to connect and know more about Nasreen and Humans of High Fashion, all the links will be in the description. Nasreen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Claire, for having me. This was great.